G'day ladies, Josh here from Force Fitness and going to go through a video today for you guys with some slides on balancing hormones for women. So we put out an email last week about what we want to talk about and what topics we want to cover, and this one came back to us about the balancing and the trying to keep it in line, the dominance of either estrogen or progesterone, the two fairly strong female hormones when it comes to the menstrual cycle, and what we can do to sort of make sure we use them to our advantage and help burn fat and burn fat from the areas we want to. So let's get into it, shall we? So obviously within the cycle for women, we know that it's two phases. So phase one from the first day of bleeding is the estrogen dominant phase. And then phase two, once that's done, going into the ovulation cycle, has high levels of progesterone. So there are two dominant hormones when it comes to the menstrual cycle for females. So the key indicators for these hormones are little waist, big hips, and a butt is too much estrogen. Okay, so for that sort of hourglass shape and figure, I guess that's what we're sort of looking at mainly. Is our estrogen as the dominant hormone. Okay, when we get little hips and waist and big breasts, it's too much progesterone. It's also strong PMS is a strong indication of progesterone being deficient, with the estrogen being too high. Now, it doesn't always necessarily mean that your progesterone is really, really lacking. You might have okay progesterone levels, but then your estrogen levels are just too high. So don't guess it, okay? You can look at your body and see what's dominant, obviously, but if you want to be more full on, go get blood work done, okay? Fat distribution 101. Estrogen leads to storage around butt, thighs, and hips, while it also works against insulin, so it is harder to remove sugar from your blood, therefore easier to get fatter. Okay, so when estrogen is too high, majority of the time, insulin can't do its work. Okay, now we need insulin to be able to come in. It's a hormone produced by the pancreas. Okay, it's going to allow you to remove all the sugar from your blood, take it into muscle cells, and get it away from fat cells. Okay. Insulin and cortisol, together with testosterone and low estrogen, are implicated in belly fat deposition in women. Okay, so insulin, what we talked about there, all right, and then cortisol, which is our stress hormone or a breakdown hormone, so it helps break down fat and muscles both, together with testosterone and low estrogen, are implicated in belly fat for women. Okay, so when we talk about low estrogen and too much testosterone, we're looking at like menopausal times like that for women. Women that are severely overweight and store body fat everywhere are generally going to have more testosterone, okay, which is something that we need to watch out, obviously getting a little bit later on in the years being a female. Hormones are continued. Okay, progesterone interrupts the pattern of cortisol, which is our breakdown hormone for both muscle and fat. Also, cortisol blocks progesterone, which is why high levels of stress is very damaging for women. So just to sort of go over the top of this one again, progesterone stops cortisol's work, okay? So we need cortisol to break down fat. But if your progesterone is too high or it's out of balance, it will not work, okay? This is why cortisol blocks progesterone. So if your cortisol is too high, meaning your stress levels are too high, progesterone doesn't get to do its work, which is burn fat and all those sort of things, okay? So next point, estrogen leads to increase in alpha receptors for extra fat storage, which are located in the lower half of the body for women and block the ability for the beta receptors to burn fat, okay? So increased activity in beta receptors means more fat burning. Increased activity in alpha receptors means more fat storage. Women have got generally 9 times the amount of alpha receptors stored in their legs, butt, and hips than males, okay? So this is why we see when we have increased levels of estrogen for women, the alpha receptors flare up, they store more fat, and we can get that big pear shape happening, okay? The best and quickest way to slow down alpha receptors is by switching to a low-carb diet instead of high-carb, okay? Super basic on being able to slow down the alpha receptors and storing less fat. Even when women have high fat stores around their butt and hips, they also still lose weight off boobs and waist. Okay, this is simply due to an imbalance between the two hormones. Now, what I'm saying there is that if you already have big hips, but the first place you always lose weight is off your boobs and your arms and chest and waist, so you stay the same size around the booty, but your waist gets smaller and your boobs get smaller, simply just because the imbalance is still there. So even though you're starting to drop weight, there's still an imbalance in hormones, so that needs to be fixed and corrected. What not to do? Simple, eat less and train more. Okay, this is just a big no-no. Obviously, we need to change what you're currently doing, but a really, really big myth in the fitness industry, and a lot of trainers promote this, and it's completely wrong and unhealthy, and that's for females to eat less calories and train more, especially do more cardio, which is just going to be more damaging in the end. What to do? So we need to eat more, so we need to work on improving your metabolic capacity and increasing your calorie intake. So we want to make sure that over time we keep adding fat and protein to our diet, increasing our carbs too, so that when we get to a maintenance level, it's okay for us. We're not getting fatter, but we're eating a shite load more calories per day, protein, carbs, fat, the whole deal. Okay, exercise smarter. Lift more weights 3 to 5 times a week, no longer than 45 minutes. So what this is doing, obviously, is increasing the natural testosterone-like hormones in your body and helping estrogen decrease, okay? We're not getting rid of estrogen because it is essential for females and males to be able to burn fat, all right? But we don't want to go longer than 45 minutes for our training, otherwise this is going to increase our cortisol, and like we talked about before, when cortisol's up, it blocks progesterone from doing its work, okay? Now, in your cycle, the progesterone is a big fat-burning tool for you, okay? So then we eat estrogen-free protein, so no soy and all free-range and organic where possible. Okay, increase your human growth hormone through sleep, high-intensity training, and more protein. So human growth hormone has a few good effects on it. It obviously helps lower our natural cortisol levels. It's an anti-aging hormone as well, so better for your skin, nail, hair, and teeth. And it's released when we sleep through high-intensity training. So the research supports that when we start to promote lactic acid buildup in our body, this is when growth hormone gets released, okay, and then more protein as well. So we also want to go through a natural detoxification of the liver, so less coffee, increase your green tea intake, more cruciferous veg like your broccoli, cauliflower, spinach, all those sort of things. Increase your fiber intake, which you will get if you increase your cruciferous veg, and obviously lower the amount of dairy and grains that you take in there. So dairy, the lactose can release insulin as well, and if we're not balanced, we don't want to have too much of that stuff, and yes, grains also do that too. Supplement with vitamin D, magnesium, and calcium, okay? More of your vitamin D needs to come from the sun than in tablets, because you still need the sunlight on your skin to be able to release that, and it also helps with the absorption of calcium, so there's no point taking a calcium supplement if you don't get in the sun, okay, because the sun will help with the absorption. Magnesium is going to help increase your natural testosterone levels, and we are good to go. Plus, it's a muscle relaxant, so we talk about being in a non-stress state. We have the magnesium to relax the muscles, so we de-stress, okay? And walking is a necessity. Walking is a necessity, not exercise. So most people go, I'll eliminate stress, I'll start walking 5 days a week. Excellent, only if it supplements a good training program that includes weightlifting, okay? So these are the things we need to do, all right, to help get this balance. Eat more calories, exercise smarter, lift more weights, no longer than 45 minutes, estrogen-free food, so no soy, definitely no soy, and all free-range or organic products. Increase your sleep, high-intensity training and more protein, natural detoxification, okay, supplements, vitamin D, magnesium, and calcium, and walking is just a little bit of leisure, but don't include it as an exercise program. That's it, guys. That's a quick video on the balancing between progesterone and estrogen for females. You can get a lot more in depth if you want. If you would like to learn anything else about this, you can send me an email. We will organise a call, but you can send me an email to admin@forcefitness.net.au, and we'll organise a strategy call, and we can help get you through these problems. All right, thanks, guys. Or ladies. Thanks, ladies.